Dear students, welcome to lecture 24. Today's topic is design issues in load balancing approach. The load balancing approach we have discussed in our previous lecture. If anybody missed that video, please watch the load balancing approach method and then come to this lecture. Means you will understand issues in load balancing algorithm when you know what is meant by load balancing approach. Okay, coming to today's topic, issues in load balancing algorithms. So, in order to design a efficient and good load balancing algorithm, it is a difficult task. Why? Because these are the following issues which are difficult to implement for a designing of a good load balancing algorithm. So the design issues are load estimation policy. Means in a load balancing algorithm, we will distribute the load along the different nodes evenly. So how to estimate the load of each node in a particular system is an issue to consider. So this policy determines how to estimate the workload of a particular node of the system. In a system, if there are 3 nodes, how to estimate the workload of N1, N2 and N3. That policy comes as load estimation policy. To which node, what is the workload? We need to estimate. We will see more about this in detail in few minutes. And the second issue is process transfer policy. What it determines? Process transfer means after estimating the load, we need to transfer that process locally or remotely. Means if any lightly loaded node is approached, means we have to transfer the process from heavy loaded node to lightly loaded node. In such a case, how to execute a process transfer locally or remotely. And the third one is state information exchange policy. In this, every time it will check what is the current state of the information, and an exchange policy is required in order to exchange the system load information between the nodes. Okay, between the nodes. We have assumed that there are 3 nodes, N1, N2 and N3. So there should be some state exchange policy in order to communicate between what is my node, what is your node, like that, N1, N2, between among the nodes N1, N2 and N3. Like that, state information exchange policy is another issue. And another issue is location policy. It determines to which node a process selected for transfer should be sent. Means this one also, after identifying a particular node, to which node that process should be selected for transfer. Okay. And priority assignment policy, which determines the priority of execution of local and remote processes at a particular node. So this migration limiting policy is the last issue in designing the load balancing algorithm. That is, migration limiting policy determines the total number of times a process can move from one node to another. Migrate is nothing but moving. So how many times it can move from actual node to another node, migrate from one node to another node. So in order to maintain the workload evenly in a system, these are the design issues we need to consider while designing a load balancing algorithms. So for the further discussion, we divide the process within the system into two classes. Means we have seen here it is a local process or remote process. So first of all, what is meant by a local process is it is the one that is proposed at its originating node, means it is processed, not proposed, sorry. A local process is one that is processed, means where it is originated, means from where that process is originated. For example, node N1 node has originated P1 process, means it want to execute P1 process. If P1 is executing in N1 node itself, then it is called as a local process. And the reverse of this is remote process. Remote process is one that is processed at a node different from the one on which it is originated. Means as we assumed, P1 is the process originated in N1 node. If N1 is heavily loaded, obviously that P1 process should transfer to another node N2. In such a case, for N2, the process P1 will be a remote process. Why? Because it is originated on N1, not on N2. Okay, hope you got this. If any process is native and it is running in the native node itself, it is local. If it is going for processing to any other node, it is remote process. So whenever a new process is arriving from the external world, so at a node, it checks and it becomes a local process if it is admitted to that node itself. Means if a new process is arrived and it is allocated to that node, then it is a local process. Otherwise, it will be transferred across the network, means it will move across the network and it becomes a remote process to the destination node. In our example, P1 becomes a remote process for the destination node N2. So we will see in detail about these policies. First one is load estimation policy. So we know that the main goal of our load balancing algorithm is to balance the workloads among the existing nodes of the system. Means if we are having two nodes in a system N1, N2, each node should process two jobs evenly. That is nothing but balancing the workload on all the nodes. This is one of the main goal of load balancing algorithm. So for this purpose, before implementing this algorithm, it is necessary to measure the workload of a particular node. How we can know that what is the workload of M1, what is the workload of M2, how we can know that means we can decide it via some considering certain parameters. Okay, in order to estimate the workload of a particular node, say for example N1 node, workload is how much, N2's workload is how much. If we know this, then only we can assign further process and to any node such that they will be in a balanced workload state. So, a node's workload can be estimated based on some measurable parameters. So, by considering these, we can estimate the workload. They are total number of processes on the node at the time of node estimation. Means at a point of time when we want to estimate the load on the nodes, at that point of time how many processes are processing by that particular node are tested. Means N1 is processing three jobs, then the total number of processes on N1 node at that point of time will be 3. Like that it estimates for each node. After that, and the second parameter is resource demands of these processes. So what are the resources for running that particular processes are required is another parameter, and instruction mixes of this process, whether that job is a mixed instruction set or not, like that these parameters should be considered. Means the instruction set might be a combination of IO bound instructions and which requires CPU cycles instructions, like that instruction mixture, and the architecture and speed of the nodes process. So with this we can estimate, means if the speed of the processor is high, then it can execute the jobs in a very less time. Like that we will identify what is the architecture and what is the speed of that particular nodes processor. So all these above measurements for load is often requires the current status of the node, means its calculation must be very efficient, but all these rules are using at a when checking the load estimation, but this is not a correct measure for estimating. So after that, another measure used for estimating a node's workload is the sum of the remaining service times. Means if N1 is assigned with any job P1 and N1 finished that job in less than the estimated time, means for example N1 can finish the job in 5 minutes, that's what the estimation, but it has finished the job in 2 minutes, then we can say that the remaining service time is more than the used time. So in such a case also we can estimate the workload of a node. And in 1981, Bryant and Hinkel has proposed that with the use of these methods, we can estimate the workload. First one is memoryless method. So the first method is memoryless method. See here in this method, it assumes that all the process will have the same expected remaining service time. Means if a node performs the job in less than the expected time, then we can say that it is efficient and it is running as per our expectations. So this method assumes that all the processes will have the same expected remaining service time. So these are independent of the time which we are using before. So there is no memory to look at what this job has the remaining service time, and we cannot compare it with the next job. So the use of this remaining service time estimation of process will reduces the load estimation method to that of the total number of process. And the next method is fast repeats. So here this method assumes that the remaining service time of a process is equal to the time used so far. Means if any process P1 takes 5 minutes of the remaining service time, it assumes that it will take again the same time. Means it will assume the past time and it repeats the same time. That is fast repeat approach. Means if any node takes 10 minutes to run that job, it estimates that the current estimation for that particular load estimation is again 10 minutes. Like that it estimates the depending on the past repeats. And the third method is the distribution method. So this method is nothing but if the distribution of service times is known, means how much service time is required for the distribution of that particular process is known, then we can use that associated process remaining time as the expected remaining time condition. Means we know that for servicing P1 process, for example, for servicing P1 process, if it takes the service time as 2 minutes, then we can expect that the remaining time can be conditioned to use it for another process, that is distribution method. But all the above discussed methods to estimate the load are not fair in a modern distributed systems. Why? Because in modern distributed systems, even on an idle node, means any node is not doing any job, it is an idle node. So several processes such as mails and news demos, Windows managers, antiviruses, and so on, they all exist permanently. Means that node is not in idle state. Moreover, many of these daemon processes wake up periodically. What they will do, they will check whether any job is there to execute or not, and if there is no job, then they will the demon process are nothing but the processes which run in background, so they will go back to sleep. So it is an acceptable method for use of load estimation policy in these systems is to measure the CPU utilization of the node. Means if we check for a modern distributed systems, we should follow the load estimation via CPU utilization time. How we can get that CPU utilization time is, it is defined as the number of CPU cycles actually executed per unit of real time. We can see, check in your own system also, what is the CPU utilization. So CPU utilization of a heavy loaded node is always greater than the CPU utilization of lightly loaded node, right? When N1 is heavily loaded with 10 number of processes, then the utilization of that particular process CPU is utilization of CPU is more. Why? Because in order to compute all those calculations of 10 processes, the CPU utilization is more. But when we consider N2, which is having only two processes, in such a case, the CPU utilization is very small percentages compared to heavily loaded nodes. So this can be considered as one of the measure by setting the timer periodically to observe which node which node's CPU state or CPU utilization is idle or busy, which every time periodically we can check for each node. I hope you got this point. In modern distributed systems, we need to identify the load estimation via CPU utilization. So if node N1 is having more CPU utilization, obviously there will be more number of process and it is heavily loaded. If N2 is having N2 is lightly loaded, then the CPU utilization will be less. If you are writing more and more in a book of white pages, all will be completed writing. If you are assigned with some assignment and you will finish all the 4 pages, means you are writing means heavily loaded. So we can say that parents will think that, oh, my son or my daughter is reading well, like that. They are heavily loaded with work, like that they think, like that. For computers also, if CPU utilization is more, then we can say that for that particular node the load is more. Like that we can estimate the load. Okay, this is first policy. Now looking to process transfer policy. After load estimation, we need to transfer that process. So the strategy of this load balancing algorithm is the idea of transferring some processes. So we need to transfer some processes from where? From heavily loaded nodes to lightly loaded nodes for processing, so that it is load balanced. So for that purpose, to facilitate this, it is necessary to devise a policy to decide whether that particular node is lightly or heavily loaded. So for this purpose, these load balancing algorithms are setting one limiting value of its workload. That is nothing but we will call it as a threshold value. So it is used to decide whether the node is lightly or heavily loaded. If the threshold value is if any value is less than this threshold value, then we can say that it is less loaded. If any value is greater than this threshold value, then it is heavily loaded. So limiting value, it is nothing but limiting value. So when a new process at a node is accepted locally for processing, means that process is generated at that node itself locally. If the workload of the node is below its threshold value at that time, means okay, N1 can have 3 threshold, the limiting value is 3. If particular N1 has only 2, it is less than the threshold value. So that particular process can be assigned to N1 itself. Why? Because it is not greater than the threshold value. So it is lightly loaded only. So if the process is crossing the threshold value, means if that process is, by addition of that process, if the threshold value is increasing, then we need to take a for transfer. So there are two methods by which we can determine the threshold value of a node. They are static policy and dynamic policy. So in static policy we will have a predefined threshold value for each node. Why? Because we consider the processing capability of each node and we will define a certain threshold value for particular node. Means N1 is having a high-end processor, the threshold value of that N1 process is 10. If N2 is having somewhat low configuration than N1, then we can set that threshold value as 8. Means it can process 8 processes per second, like that. We can take a static value, predefined threshold value for each node. It depends upon the processing capability of the node. Whereas in dynamic policy of threshold value is calculated from the average workload and a predefined constant. Here we will assume one predefined constant and this threshold value will be calculated from the average workload of out of all the nodes, average workload and a predefined addition of predefined constant. We will assume the threshold value. So most balancing algorithms, load balancing algorithms will use this type of single threshold policy where there will be a threshold value here. As I said, the value less than this threshold value is considered as underloaded and the value which is greater than this threshold value is overloaded. So the use of this single threshold value may sometimes become useless. So it may lead to some fruitless process because by adding any one process and if it decides to accept a remote process, suddenly the load may become larger than the threshold value as soon as the remote process arrives this node. So therefore immediately after receiving the remote process, the node should again transfer one or more of its process to some other nodes, right? Okay, already it is executing its process and it is again accepting a remote process as the value is less than the threshold value. It is accepting new process. By accepting that new remote process, suddenly this threshold value may increase and it comes as an overloaded node. In that case, that N1 should transfer its own process, currently running process, to another N2 node. Why? Because it is overloaded. So, they observe that a node should only transfer one or more of its process to another node if there are such a great figures in improving the threshold values. So which improves the performance of rest of its local process. If any case is occurred which is overloaded, in such a case a node should transfer any one or two process to another nodes. Why? Because putting all the nodes in the same node, putting all the processes in the same node may decrease the performance. So to improve the performance, some process should be moved to another node. So a node should accept a remote process only if its load is such that the added workload of processing of the incoming process will not increase the threshold at a once. If it is below under the threshold value, then only it should accept the remote process. So because of this instability in single threshold policy means we don't know by accepting that remote process the threshold value will increase or decrease like that. Because of this instability, the policy designed is double threshold policy. This is the double threshold policy in which it depends upon the high-low policy, means high-low policy. Here we have low mark and high mark. It will be low mark will be below the low mark will be considered as underloaded. From low mark to high mark it will be considered as normal. After high mark it will be considered as overloaded. So the high-low policy uses two threshold values called high mark and low mark. High mark and low mark. So it divides the space of possible load states of a node into three regions. Yes, it is dividing into three regions: underloaded, overloaded and normal. What is overloaded? Above the high mark and low mark values, it is overloaded. So normal, what is the region normal means? Above the low mark and below the high mark value. It is obvious that above the low mark and below the high mark is normal region. So underloaded is below the both values. So what we will do in double threshold policy means when node is in overloaded region, new local process are sent to run remotely, right? In the previous also we have seen that if N1 is overloaded, its own process should be transferred to another node. This is nothing but this one. When node is overloaded in a overloaded region, the new local process, whatever the newly created process originated in that node, should be sent to run remotely, means they should be sent to another node N2. So it requests to accept remote processes are rejected, means it will not accept any further remote processes because it is already overloaded. So if the when a node is in normal region, that is in between that region above the low and below the high, it is normal region. All the new local processes will run locally. It also does not accept the remote processes. It whatever the process which are going on locally, it will run those processes. So in underloaded region, when the node is in underloaded, all the new local processes will run locally and it also accepts the remote processes so that it may go to the normal region, not in a overloaded region. So all the remote processes are also accepted in underloaded region. No remote process are accepted in normal and overloaded. All the local process will run here itself. Underloaded, all the local process will run plus the remote process will also run in underloaded region. So a node load state will dynamically switch from one region to another like this. So current load status of the node and the decision to transfer that particular local process is based on the policies. So if any job is arrived, it departures the job, and if any underloaded job is there, its job arrival, it comes to the state normal. Further, it arrives it comes to the overloaded state. So up to now, from the above two policies, we have decided the load estimation we did, and the process transfer also we have decided. After once a decision has been made through the transfer policy, to which node we have to transfer the process is to be decided. So the destination node for that particular process execution should be selected. This selection, choosing that particular destination node is made by the location policy of scheduling algorithm. So these location policies are threshold method, means in this method this policy selects some random node and it checks whether the node is able to receive that particular process or not. If it can able to do that job, then it transfers the process. If the node rejects, means if that particular node is already overnoded, another node is to be selected randomly. This continues until it reaches the probe limit, means we will set some threshold value, means you can try randomly for 3 4 times. If that probe limit is 4, after reaching that limit it cannot try any further nodes. And the next method is shortest method, means with the low distant nodes are chosen at random and they are polled to determine its load. So this process of transferring to the node which is having the minimum value of workload, it accepts the process. So if any given is not, whenever a node with zero load is encountered, this will not continue with the probing concept. And the another method is bidding method, in which all the node contain managers, means they will send messages to the processes, and there will be contractors who will receive the process. Manager manages the process transfer. So managers will broadcast a request for bid. So what contractors will do? They will respond with the bids, and the manager selects the best offer, means here the pricing based on the capacity of the contractor node will be sent to the base. Whoever is free and whoever want to execute further jobs on that particular nodes, they can respond. Only the winning contractor is notified and asked whether it accepts that particular process for execution or not. Okay, here full autonomy, independent is there, and this autonomy for the nodes regarding scheduling. So the communication overhead between the managers and contractors is there, and we cannot decide easily what is the good pricing policy, as the contractor may give the prices based on the capacity of the contracted node, and the another location policy is to decide the destination node is pairing. So pairing policy is to reduce the variance of load only between pairs. Here two nodes which differ largely in load are temporarily paired. If N2 and N3 are not having much load, they will be paired N2 and N3, so that the pair can take that process and then the migration starts. If the pair is broken as soon as the migration is over, means after completion of that particular process, N2 and N3 will remain act as a normal node itself. And the next policy is state information exchange policy. In this, All the dynamic policies require frequent exchange of state information, but here there are two extra messages which impose some opposite impacts. They are increasing the number of messages gives more accurate scheduling decisions, and it also raises the queuing time of messages. If we go with state information, means every time periodically what is the current status of the nodes in a system is observed. So periodic broadcast will be there after some time, every after some every 1 hour or half an hour it periodically broadcast means it received by all the nodes in the system. Periodic broadcast will be done and broadcast when state changes. If any state changes, then also another message will be broadcasting that this state has been changed and this node is having lightweight like that, light load like that. It will change, send messages on every state change. On demand exchange and exchange by polling, we will see this one. Periodic broadcast is, I have said, no, after certain period of time or a lapse of every t units of time, this node broadcasts the state information. Some of the problems are, if you are doing every time periodic broadcast, it may be the unnecessary traffic and it leads to heavy traffic, and poor scalability of the system may be there if you are doing periodic broadcast, because some networks may have many nodes. In such a case, broadcasting such messages will create a heavy traffic in the system, unnecessary periodic traffic. And broadcast when stage changes, this also broadcasts a message in state change. When the state change, then only it broadcasts a message, means it is avoiding these unnecessary, every for every t units of time it is broadcasting, for every 10 seconds it is broadcasting in this method. But here it will broadcast only when the state has been changed. If n2 node is completely free, it has changed its state from heavy loaded to light loaded, that is, you can consider it as a state change. In such a case, it will send a broadcast message that I am free, like that. So further improvement is broadcast only when state switches from one region to another region, that is, from under to normal threshold value, which we have discussed in double threshold policy. And another method is location policy, is on demand exchange. In this method also broadcast a state information request message. Here we are demanding now to send the state information. So it normally, when its state switches from normal to either underloaded or overloaded region, then all the received nodes will send or reply with their own state information, so that we can take further improvement on these nodes and we can assign the process. And another thing is exchange by polling, means to avoid scalability. We can think of scalability as extending the process. The partner node is searched by pooling. We have seen this in pairing. Both partner nodes are searched and they are paired. After migration, they will be broken. Like that, location assignment policies will be there, and priority assignment policies, these are depending upon these following assignment rules, means all the nodes will have these priority assignment policy rules. They are selfish, altruistic, intermediate. Means local process are given high priority than remote process. Means every node will give priority to run its own local process, not the remote process. Here in this rule, remote process are given high priority than local process. Whenever any job comes from any other node, it will be given priority and all the local processes will be suppressed or they can be moved to any other node in altruistic. And in intermediate, there will be the priority of process which depends upon the number of local process and the number of remote process. So here it will consider the number of local process is greater than or equal to the number of remote process, then local process are given priority. If local processes are greater, means local processes are 9, remote processes are 2, then it will be given priority to 9 local processes. Otherwise, if we are having high remote process to run to execute and one local process, then priority will be given to the remote process as it is having 5 priority. Like that, in it will go in intermediate process. So priority assignment policies are these, and the last are migration limiting policies. So this policy is to be used by distributed operating system and it supports process migration. I have already told that migration means moving the process from one node to another node, local to remote. This is nothing but migration. So this type of policy are classified into two policies, uncontrolled and controlled migration. Means in uncontrolled migration, a remote process, if any remote process is arrived at a particular node, it is treated just as a process originating at the node. Okay, means any remote process also treated just as a process originating at the node. So this policy, a process may be migrated at any number of times, but it is causing an instability in the process. Means it can migrate any number of times, that is uncontrolled. We cannot control the migration of process between the nodes. And in controlled, we will limit the migration of every process by using a migration count parameter. If that count parameter reaches a maximum value, reaches certain limit value, then the process cannot migrate. Only it can migrate to other nodes for a fixed number of times. So this is controlled migration. So overall here in this lecture we have discussed about the issues in designing the load balancing approach. All these issues are discussed in detail. I hope you all have understood this topic. Thank you.